Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 1 for A-level math of May-June 2002. Now with that being said, let's move on to the question number 1. The line x plus 2y is equal to 9. So this is the equation of a straight line. Now we can see the line intersects. So this is a very good thing to know. It cuts the curve x, y plus 18 equal to 0. Okay, now it means the curve at 2 points. We have point A and point B. These are the points of intersection. Now find the coordinates of A and B. So pretty easy. The main idea is that, for example, here we have a curve. A curve could be in a shape. Let's say the shape is something like this. Why not? Something like this. Right. Now this line is a straight line. Let's say the line looks like this. For example, right? This will be the first point and the second point where they meet. The first one is the point A and the point B. So the idea behind this is we just have to find the point A and B, and as we can see, they are the points of intersection. Now whenever you see intersection, cuts or meets, it means it will lead to solving a simultaneous equation. So always remember this. If you guys don't know what to do, it will always lead to these kind of questions. Intersects, meets, cuts, it will be these kind of questions. So step by step, here we have two equations. This is my equation number 1, my equation number 2. So let me write this down. So we have first x plus 2y is equal to 9. Now here we have xy plus 18 is equal to 0. Now let's begin with the first equation. So I can see clearly that I can make x become the subject pretty easily. So that will give me what? From here I will have x is equal to 9 minus 2y. That is, with my x as the subject of formula. Now again, here I'm trying to solve the simultaneous equation, and I'm trying to solve by the method of substitution. So I have x here, so I replace in this spot. So I know x is also equal to 9 minus 2y times x times y, and plus 18 is equal to 0. Now we have to solve this. Let's try to solve this. So you will have 9y minus 2y squared plus 18 is equal to 0. Okay, now let's do something. Let's send everything to this side, because here we have minus 2y squared. I don't like to work with negative sign. Let me send everything to the right hand side. You will have 2y squared minus 9y plus 18. Sorry, minus 18 will be 0. It is minus, not plus. The sign will change, right? Now as you can see, this one will be a simple quadratic equation. So let's try to solve this. So factorize. So here we have 2y squared, that will be 2y times y. And what is 18? Let's say 18, we know it is 1 times 18, 2 times 9, or 3 times 6. So we have these few options we can choose from, but the goal here is to get minus 9. So I can try to put 6 here, for example. It is only done by trial and error. So you have to test. If you don't know what to do, you can always use the formula again to solve this. It will be way, not easier, but way simpler than to think by trial. It's up to you. Now, for example, here I can choose to use this one. So I can put 6 here and 3 here. I need to have minus 9, so 2y times minus 6 is minus 12, and then plus 3y will give me minus 9, and then test. Minus or plus times minus will give you minus, so this is good. Confirmed. So here solving, 2y plus 3 is equal to 0. Y minus 6 will be 0. So here we have y is equal to minus 3 over 2, and y is equal to value of 6. Okay, so that will be the first two values of y. Now let's have a look. What are the values of x that we can have? So we place in the x formula right here. So x will be equal to 9 minus 2y. Y is this value. And here we have x is equal to 9 minus 2y will be this value. Let's see what do we get. So here this will go away, cancel out. Here we have 9 minus 3, that will be 12. And here we have x is equal to, this is x obviously, and that will be 9 minus 2 times 6, that will be minus 3. Again, I always recommend using the calculator because it is a way of confirming your answer very easily. Instead of using your mind, sometimes you can do some silly mistakes. So always double check using your calculator. Now as you can see, we have 2 points. So this will be my point A will be minus 3, 6. And my point B will be 12 and minus 3 over 2. Okay, now the question that I have sometime is, why do I choose A to be this one and not this one? It's because the way we think is in the alphabet order, A comes before B. That makes sense, right? And in the numbers order, we understand that minus 3 comes before 12. That is why we kind of match them together so that A is before B, same as minus 3 is before 12, so that will belong to A and that will belong with B. As you can see, these are the 2 points we are trying to find for question number 1, the points A and B. As always, you can always make a drawing to understand what's happening and then proceed by using the question, what they are looking for. Intersection means solving a simultaneous equation, and that is this question. So part 1, we have to show that sin x, tan x may be written in this form. Okay, so the first thing we can see is that in this form, we only have cos. We don't have any sine or tan. So how can we do this? Let's think. So we know that tan x is what? Tan x is equal to sin x over cos x. Okay, so now we can use that to see what can we do. So replace this back in the main equation. So here we have sin x times tan x. Now we know tan x is also equal to sin x over cos x. Okay, now simplify. Sin x times sin x will be sin square x, right, over cos x. Now something we know here is from the formulas that we are given, we know that sin x square plus cos x square is equal to 1. So what if you make this become subject? So sin square x is equal to 1 minus cos square x. So now we can actually replace this by this in the main equation. So let's continue. So this will go up here. If you think, that will be sin square x will be 1 minus cos square x over the value of cos x. And guess what? This is shown as required, as we need here for part 1. Okay, so what I'm teaching you guys here is also the way we think, the way to proceed, and how do we think about those questions. I think the way we think is the most important thing when it comes down to solving questions, because the question can always change, but the way you think will always help you to solve them. That is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, hence, so usually hence means using the answer from part 1, solve this equation. So solving this. So let's see. So from part 1, we have what? So part 2, as you can see, we have 2 sin x tan x is equal to 3. Now pretty easy. We can first send this over here. So divide by 2 on both sides. You will have sin x tan x is equal to 3 over 2. That's the first step. Now from part 1, we realize that this one is actually equal to this. So we have to replace. Let's see what happened. So you will have 1 minus cos square x over the value of cos x is equal to 3 over 2. Okay, so now we have something to solve. Now the first step is whenever we have fraction equal to fraction, usually we think about doing a cross multiplication. Okay, so you will have 2 minus 2 cos square x is equal to 3 cos x. We have this. Now let's rearrange. Let's send everything to one side. You will have 2 cos square x, then plus 3 cos x, then minus 2 will be 0. Now sometimes cos can be kind of scary to work with, so we can do this. We can let u equal to cos x. This is just to help you out. If you don't need to, no problem, continue. But if you want to, you can always do that. You will have 2u squared plus 3u minus 2, that will be 0. Now as you can see, this one will be a simple quadratic equation. You can solve using factorization, or you can solve using the formula. So I will use factorization because I like doing that way. You will have 2u squared is 2u times u. 2 is 2 times 1. We can put 2 here and 1 here. We want to have plus 3, so 2u times plus 2, that will be plus 4, minus 1, that will be plus 3. So solving, u here will become, so here we have, sorry, let me simplify this for you first. You'll have 2u minus 1 will be 0. Here we have u plus 2 will be 0. So the first value will be u is equal to half, and u will be minus 2. So here we have two values for u. But now we realize that we're not trying to find the value of u. We're trying to find the value of x in this question. So replace u back by your main substitution. So here we have, continue, u was found to be cos x, right? Now we know cos x is equal to half, or we can see cos x was found to be minus 2. Okay, so the first thing we realize is that this will be invalid. Invalid. So it will not give you any answer because we know that the value of cos x have to be between the value of minus 1 and 1. Cannot be more than those values, so it is past minus 1, it will not be possible. You can always check cos inverse of minus 2, not possible. It will be a math error in this case. So we can only proceed with this one. Now we can see cos is a positive value. So let's look at our quadrants. Let's see where does it fall. So this and this. We have A. So you have all A is positive. Then we have S sine and T for tan, and cos is positive here. So here, because cos is positive, it will be in the first quadrant and in the fourth quadrant. To find this angle, very simple, which is x, and this one will be 360 minus x. Okay, so let's do this. Now because it is positive, I can do this directly. So x is equal to cos inverse of half. That will give you, of course, use your calculator. So cos inverse of half, that will be 60 degrees. That is the angle in the first quadrant, right? And then to find this one, we take 360 minus 60, that will give you 300. So here for part 1, we realize part 2, x is equal to 60 and also 360 as your answer. Okay, this is part 2 of the question for a trigonometry question. The diagram shows the curve y equal to 3 root x. Okay, so this is the curve 3 root x, as you can see here. And the line y equal to x. This is the line y equal to x. Great. Now we have the intersect, so they meet at the point O and the point P. So O and P, these are the 2 points of intersection. Now part 1, we have to find the point P. So pretty easy. Again, when you have intersecting meets, we always will be leading to a simultaneous equation. Right, that's the main idea behind these kind of wording or question. So first equation is this one. Second is this one. Pretty easy. So here we have y is equal to x. So let's replace y by x in this equation. So let me write this down. First equation will be y equal to 3 root x. Then we have y is equal to x. Now we can replace the y by x. So you will have, by solving, by substitution, you will have x on one side equal to 3 root x. I hope this makes sense, right? That should make sense. Now, how can we simplify this? Now, if you realize, what is root x? It is also x power half, right? So let's replace that. You will have x equal to 3 x power half. Now, to simplify our life, what we can do here, we can square both sides. You will have x squared is equal to 9x. Makes sense, right? Now let's send this over here. You will have x squared minus 9x. That will be 0. Now since x is common, we factorize the x outside. That will be x minus 9 will be 0. From here you can see x can be 0 or x can be the value of 9. So x0 will be here and x9 will be at this value. We can mark it here if you want to. That will be 9. So obviously p is here at 9. We'll have to find the y value because we are trying to find the coordinates of p. Now coordinates of p is the x and the y value as well. So x, we know it's 9. We have to find the y. To find the y, we just replace back in the main equation. So y is equal to x. That will be 9 as well. So point p has been found to be 9. So this is my answer for part 1 of the question. As you can see, the key point is that we understand when you say intersecting or cuts meets, it will almost always lead to solving a simultaneous equation. Then we do step by step, then you find those points of intersection. That is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find the area of the shaded region. Okay, so let's observe how can we find this. Right. To find this area, we kind of realize that we have to first, for example, let me draw something. So my graph is like this. This is my y and my x value. Right. This is the graph that I have. That will be this. And this is the line. Now, for me to find this area, only this, I realize that I will need to first, so this is again the graph. So step 1, I will need to what? At the point where, as you can see, at the point where x equal to 9 will be here, I can first find the whole area. That's the step number 1. Then, step number 2, at the point, of course, x equal to 9 here, minus this one, the area of the triangle. So this minus this, I will remain with this. So this is gone, as you can see. This will be gone, so this is gone. I will remain only with the top part. So that's the main idea here. First, find the whole area, then minus the area of the triangle, so you remain with this area that we need. So how would you find the whole thing? If you observe, it is simply area under this curve, between the limits of 0 and 9. Now, to find the area under curve, we have to use integration. So pretty easy. First step, let's rewrite this. We know y is equal to 3 root x is x power half. That's the first step. Right. Now, to find the area under curve, we can use integration. Okay, you will have integration between the value of 9, this is other limits, and 0. And the equation is 3x power half with respect to x. So solving this, pretty easy. Now 3 is only a multiple, we can leave this outside. Now first we have to add 1 to the power, that will become half plus 1 is 3 over 2. Then divide by the same power, and then that's it. So we have to add the limits to solve this equation. So simplify, this will cancel out with a 3 here, so you will have 2x power 3 over 2, limits of 9 and 0. So let me continue on this side. Right. So let's first take the 2 out because it is only a multiple. On the inside, I will have to first replace 9 in this x. You have 9, 3 over 2, then minus, of course, 0 instead of x. That will also give you 0. So you have 2, 9 power 3 over 2. That will give you 27. So 2 times 27, that will give you 54. So we have done part 1. So we know that part 1, the big thing is area under curve, and that is going to be 57 units square. Now, we have to minus the area of the triangle. Now, how do we know this is a triangle? Pretty easy. It's because we know this is a straight line, y equal to x, straight line. This is a vertical line, right? Because it is the value of x at 9, it will be a vertical line. And this is a horizontal line. So this will have to be a right angle triangle. If that makes sense, right? I hope so. Now, this base here is 9. And this height here is also 9. Because we know the P is a point 9, 9. So 9 and 9, this will be the sides of this triangle. Now, how do you find area of a triangle? As we have seen before, it is simply half times base and times height. That will be half times 9 times 9, that will be 40.5. Okay, so your answer will be 54 minus 40.5. For the area that we care about, that will be 13.5. Of course, you have to write units square for area of the region that we need to find. And this is your question, which relates to area under curve and using integration. Now for this question, we have a progression has a first term of 12 and a fifth term of 18. So let's first write this information down. So we always call the first term as A is 12 and the fifth term, which is term number 5, as 18. This is given information. Now let's move on to the questions. Now part 1, we have to find the sum of the first 25 terms if the progression is arithmetic. Now, this is a very good thing because we know already what type of progression it is. So again, in A-level and also I think in O-level too, we only have 2 types of progression you guys have to learn. One is arithmetic and one is geometric. So once you know which type of progression this is, you can always proceed first by writing down the relevant formulas. Now again, these are given to you on your list. You don't need to memorize those, which is a good thing. So let me first write that. For the part 1, the formulas that we'll be using will be the nth term, that will be a plus n minus 1 times d, and then the sum of the first n term, that should be half n 2 times a plus n minus 1 times d. Again, these are given to you in your list. No need for memorization. Now let's move on. So how can we use these things to find the sum of the first 25 terms? So the goal here is to find the sum of the first 25 terms. That's the main goal. Now step by step, we know the value of a is 12, okay, and we know the fifth term is 18. So we have this. So I can see that from the list we have a, we have n, which is here n is 25, right, 25 terms, but we're missing d. So our goal here is to first find the value of d. So we have to use the given values on top to find the value of d. So let me use this one because we know here the fifth term is 18. So let me write this down. Using the fact that a, which is the first term, is 12 and the fifth term is 18, we are going to find the value of d first. So continue. So the fifth term is basically when n is equal to 5, the term is equal to 18. So let's replace this one back in the main equation. So here we have T5, which is 18, is going to be A is 12, plus N is 5 minus 1 will be 4 times D. So now we have an equation we can solve step by step to find the value of D. So 40 will be 18 minus 12. So 40 will be what? Will be 18 minus 12 will be 6. And D will be 6 divided by 4. Again, always you can use your calculator, no problem. That will be 1.5 as your value of D. So now once you have this value, you can proceed to find the value of the sum of the first 25 terms. So let's replace back in this equation. So sum of the first 25 terms will be half times n is 25. 2 times a is given to you as 12. And we have plus n minus 1 is 24 times d, which is 1.5. Okay, that's it. So we just have to replace in your calculator to solve this to find the answer. So inside first, 2 times 12 plus 24 times 1.5 will be this, times 25 divided by 2. That will be 750 will be your answer for part 1 of the question. Okay, so now let's move on to part 2. We have to find the 13th term if the progression is geometric. So pretty easy, right? So now we know the type of progression this is. We can first proceed by writing down the formulas that we know for this one. So we know for geometric progression, the nth term is given to you by a r n minus 1. And then the sum to infinity, or this is given to you by a 1 minus r. Again, this will be given to you on your list. No need to memorize. But now again, let's see what can we use here. Our goal is to find the 13th term. So we have to find this. 13th means when the value of n is 13th. Okay, good. Now, as you can see, we have to use the given values. So using the value of a is 12, which is the first term, and the fifth term is given by 18. Now we're missing a value here, as by observation we can see we don't have the value of r. So let's first find the value of r from those two given information. So let's proceed. So here we know the term number 5 is given by 18, which is equal to the equation here, which is a is 12, r we don't know, and n is 5 minus 1 is 4. So here we have to solve for the value of r. So r power 4 is what? It is 18 over 12. So let's simplify that. 18 divided by 12, that will be 1.5, which is 3 over 2, right? And then r will be applying this. Sorry, so we 4 here, which is power 1 over 4, right? So we can just use that for now if you want to, or we can just simplify. So that will be what? So we know this will be what? This is the same thing as 1.5 power 1 over 4. So 1.5 power 1 over 4, that will be, this is not exact. So let me keep this as my value of r for now, though, so we can use and find the exact value in my required question. So here we need to find the 13th term. So let's do this. So when n equal to 13, find the value of t. So replace back in this equation. So t13 will be a is equal to 12. R, we know it is 1.5, 1 over 4. And then the value of n minus 1. N minus 1 is 13 minus 1, that will be 12. Okay, so here we just have to simplify. So that will be 12. Here by the rules of indices, we know that we have to just multiply these two. 1 over 4 times 12, that will be what? That will be 3. So 1.5 times 3. Times 12, that is 3, exactly. So you will have 12 times 1.5 power 3, that should give you 3.375. So your answer will be times 12, that will be 40.5. Okay, so that will be your 13th term of the progression if it was a geometric progression. Now again, the steps always, I would say, is pretty similar. The first thing to find out first is what type of progression that we have. That's the first thing we need to keep in mind. Now, once we realize that, let's first write down all the formulas that you guys know for this kind of progression. That's the first thing. And then use the given information to try to find out what do you need to find the required answer at the end. That will be the steps that we cannot follow for this kind of question. And that will be the question in regards to progression for paper 1. So now we have this question in regards to vectors. Let's see what do we have. So the diagram shows a solid cylinder, which means they are closed on both sides by the word solid, standing on a flat ground, on a flat circular base. So it means this base here is a circle, right? It is also flat on the ground. Now we have the center is O and the radius is 4 units. So OA is the radius, which is 4 units. BO is also the radius, which is also 4 units. So which means AB will be the diameter of this circle center O. Anyways, let's move on. The line BA is a diameter, as I just said, and the radius OC, so OC is at 90 degrees to OA. So we realize that OC and OA, they are at right angle. This is O, this is A, and this is C. Okay, this is what it means. Now what else? The point O prime, A prime, B prime, and C prime lie on the upper surface of the cylinder such that these points are all vertical and the length is 12. As you can see, it will be vertical, 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 and those lengths are all 12 units above. Okay, now the midpoint of B and B prime is M. As you can see, this is the midpoint. Now, what is the first thing we can derive from that information? So, since we know this whole thing is 12, if M is the midpoint, what does that mean? It means that this will be 6 and 6. Makes sense, right? This will be 6 and 6 units. Okay, so that's the first thing we can derive from that information. Now, unit vectors I, J, and K are parallel to OA, OC, and O respectively. As we can see here, so OI, OJ, and OK. These are the direction, unit vectors in those directions. Now part 1, we have to express each of the vectors MO and MC in terms of I, J, and K. So pretty easy. So first let's begin with MO. MO means you start from M, you go to O. So how can we do this? Let's observe. Let's use the diagram. M, let's join M to O. So we have to join these two. Right, that's the first thing. M moving to O. So we start from M. What can we do? So from M, we realize that we can go to B. So M going to B, then B going to O. So this is how we can move to O. So M, we first go to B, and then from B, we can go to O. Now, the main advice I have for you guys here is, whenever you guys have a diagram, please use the diagram to see how can you move from one position to the next one. It will really help you guys out to know exactly if your answer is correct or not, just by observation. That will be the first step. Now, what is the value of M going to be? If you observe, we know that the upwards direction, as you can see here, is K. If you go up is K, which means if you go from A to A prime, that will give you, because we know it is 12, it will become 12K for the direction. So we know that it will be 12K if you go up from A to A prime. However, here we're moving downwards from M to B. If you go down, which is the opposite direction, it will become negative. Now we know that the value of MB is 6. It will have to be minus 6K for the vertical value. So MB, that will be minus 6K. Now plus BO, as we can see here, in this direction, it is I. So if we go to the right, it will be positive I. Now, we know that BO is the same as OA, which is 4, so BO will also be 4 units. As you can see here, the radius is 4 units. Now, B going to O will be in this direction, which is in the right direction. So we know that will be also 4, so plus 4I. If that makes sense, because it is in the correct direction. So BO will be plus 4I as your answer. Now let's write this down in terms of I, J, and K. So we can see that it will be 4I plus 0J minus 6K. That will be MO as your value. That's the first one. Good, done. Now, for MC, same things. same thing we have to do. Let's have a look at the diagram. From M moving to the point C. So M going to C. Okay, that's your goal for this part of the question. Now, how can you move from M to C? Let's observe. So let me write this down first here. M going to C. So as we can see, the first thing we can do is M going to B prime, right? That's the first move. From M go to C. So first M go to B prime, then B prime go to O prime, and then O prime go to C prime. So in this case we have three moves to do. So first is M going to B prime, then B prime going to O prime, and then O prime going to C prime. So let's find those values one by one. Now, M going up, as you can see, because K is the direction going up, it will be a positive value. Now, we know this is 6, it will become 6K for the vertical value. So MB prime will be 6K for the value, positive obviously. Now for B and O prime, this is 4. So B from B going to O will be in this direction. And as we have seen here, in this direction, this will be a positive value as well. Okay, so that will be what? So we can see that it will be value of 4 and it is in this direction. And we see this direction is positive I. So that will be plus 4i. Okay, that will be plus 4i. Now for O prime, C prime, as we have seen, this direction is found to be J. And now the length obviously will be what? As we have seen, we know that this is a circle and any distance from the center to the circumference will be the radius, which is the value have to be 4 as well. In this case, that will be from this going to this will be 4j for the value that we have to find. Now, this is simply going to be 4i plus 4j and then 6k as your value for MC. That will be part 1 of the question. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question where we have to find the angle OMC. So OMC, we have to find this one. So obviously we will have to use dot product and we have find the two vectors that we need for that. We have found MC and MO. So obviously, as you can see here as well, it says hence. It means to use these values on top to find that angle. So pretty easy. So what I like to do is I like to first write these down as vectors. For example, MO will be the same as 4, 0, minus 6. And this will be the same as 4, 4, 6. Okay. Now using dot product, we have to multiply them. Scalar product, so that will be 4, 0, minus 6 multiplied by 4, 4, 6 is equal to the product of their magnitude, so a magnitude of MO times this one, a magnitude of MC, and then cos of the angle in between, that will be angle M. So we have to solve for the angle M. So one by one. So this multiplied by this will be what? So 4 times 4 is 16 plus 0 times 4 is 0 plus minus 6 times 6 will be minus 36. And these are the magnitudes. We have to find one by one, so pretty easy. How do you find magnitude of a vector? So that will become square root. That will be square. The first one will be 16 plus 0 plus 36. 6 minus 6 will be 36. So let's add this up. 16 plus 36, that will be root of 52. Now for this one, same steps. Square root of square, that will be 16 plus 16 plus 36. That will give you what? 16 plus 16 plus 36, that will be 68. That will be cos of M prime. Okay, so let's simplify this. So here you will have this times this. We can simplify this first. So 16 minus 36, that will be minus 20. And for this one, we can simplify as 52 times 68, that will be root of 3536 and cos of angle M. Now let me move this up for some space. So right now we have this equation. So we have minus 20 is equal to root of 3536 and cos of the angle M. Now we have to make this become subject, so cos of the angle M will be minus 20 divided by root of 3536. So M will be cos inverse of the answer that we have over here. Let's see what do we get. So minus 20 divided by root of 3536, that will be this. Then we have cos inverse of that value, that will give you 109.65. If you want to correct to one decimal place, that will be 109.7 degrees. Okay, so that will be your angle M as required by the question. Okay, so that will be my question for vectors in this paper. Let's move on to this question. That will be a graph question. So the function f, where f of x is equal to a sin x plus b, this is my function of f of x. It is defined for the domain, which means for the x values, domain is x values between 0 and 2 pi. Okay, given to you. Now given that f of half pi, now again, if you don't like to work with pi, you can always convert to degrees and then convert back to pi as well afterwards. Anyways, let me just explain that. Pi is actually 180 degrees and half pi is what? Half pi will be 90 degrees. Now here 3 over 2 pi is what? 3 over 2 times 180, that will be 270. So 3 over 2 pi, that will be 270 degrees. Now it is up to you. If you like working with radians, you can do that. If you like working with degrees, you can do that. But afterwards, you have to convert back so you know that it is relevant to the question. So we're given these two values that we can use to find the value of a and b for part 1. So let's use that. So we're given f of x is equal to a sin x plus the value of b. Right. Now we have f of half pi is equal to the value of 2, but let me replace it first. That will be a sin of half pi plus b equal to the value of 2. Let's simplify. What is the value of sine 90? That will be 1. So we have a times 1 plus b is equal to 2. That will be a plus b is equal to the value of 2. That is my equation number 1 from the given values. Now let's move on to this one. Here we have f of 3 over 2 pi is equal to, same thing, same steps. We have a sine of 3 over 2 pi plus b, that will be the value of minus 8. Right, that will be a sine of 270, that will be minus 1, plus b, that will be minus 8. So let's have a look. That will be minus a plus b, that will be minus 8. And we can make b become the subject, so b will be a minus b. That is my equation number 2. So as you can see, we have two equations involving two unknown values, so we can use the simultaneous equation to solve these equations to find the values of a and b. So here we have b already. Replace this b by this b. You will have a plus b, that will be a minus 8, that will be the value of 2. So you have 2a is equal to the value of 10. So a obviously will be the value of 5. That is my first value of a. Now replace this back in this one, you will have to find the value of b. So that will be 5 minus 8, that will be minus 3. So here we go. A will be 5 and b will be the value of minus 3. Okay, so these will be the two values that we need to find for this question. Again, the main idea here is pretty easy, is that we have to use the given values and the equation that we have to solve one by one, and then finding the values of a and b. So the main concept is everything you need is given to you. You just have to find a way to find the answer. Now for part 2 of the question. So find the values of x for which f of x equal to 0, given your values in radians, correct to 2 decimal place. So pretty easy. Now we know exactly what f of x is, right? Because we just solved the equation, we know what we have. So f of x was found to be a is 5 sine of x plus b is minus 3. So now we have to solve for the values of x when f of x is equal to 0. So let's replace this. F of x is 5 sine x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now, which means sine of x is equal to 3 over 5. Now, we can always simplify this to decimal. 3 divided by 5 will be 0.6. Right, so we have sine of x is equal to 0.6. Now, finally, when sine is positive, we have to know that it is in what quadrant? In which quadrants? They will be in the A, because it is positive, right? A, S, T, C. S stands for sine, so it will be in the sine quadrant, second quadrant. It will be also this angle. This is simply your value of x, and this will be 180 minus x. Because here we have to work with radians, that will be pi minus x. Okay, let's first find the value of x. So x will be simply, because here we have positive values, that will be directly sine inverse of 0.6. In terms of radians, obviously, that's what we have to find here. That will be 0.6435. 0.6435. And then we have to find the other angle, the big one, that will be pi minus answer, that should be 2.498. Now, this is not your final answer because here you can see there's a requirement, correct, to 2 decimal places. We have to change that. That will be what? That will be, so x have to be 0.64 and then 2.50 to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that will be your question, part 2, that we have over here. Now for part 3, we have to sketch the graph y equal to f of x. So again, whenever you have to sketch the graph, I would always advise to use a table of values. It would just make your life much simpler. You have just to use a table, which involves, let me write this down first. Let me first make the table that I have to make before I do this. So I have my equation, which is given to me by, this is my equation f of x, which is given to you by a is what? A is 5 sine of x minus 3. Now, obviously, through practice and experience, you guys have to know that the value in front of your function here, of your sine function, this has to be your amplitude. And this is usually, we have to use that value here, which is 1 for your period. And this one is definitely your intercept. So let's see, what are the values that we can have for my table of values? Now, I think this is the easiest way because we don't really have to think much. We just have to make a table and then just proceed one by one, finding the points and then sketching. So we know that here it is defined between 0 and 2 pi. So let me make the table. So we have x values and we have to find the corresponding y values. Or f of x is y. All right. Begin from 0. Now, what is the interval I will be using? Because the value here in front of my x is 1, I'll be using 90 degrees divided by this value, that is 1. It will be 90. 90 is pi by 2. Pi by 2. Then increase by pi by 2, that will be pi. And then 3 pi by 2. And finally, that will be 2 pi. So this is how I find my interval because I want to work with exact values. There's only one reason behind this. Why do I do this? Is because I want to work with exact values. And to find these exact values interval, I'll look at the value in front of my x. It is 1. So I take 90 divided by 1, give me 90. So I know the interval I will be working with will be 90. In that case, that will be giving me exact values. That is the only reason. So when x is equal to 0, what will that give me? So let's replace 5 sine 0 minus 3. That will be minus 3 as my value of f of x. Now next one, when x is equal to pi by 2, we have seen this before. It is given to you by 2 right here. And when sine is equal to what? Sine is equal to, so 5 sine of pi minus 3, that will be minus 3. And then pi over 2, we know this is minus 8, so minus 8. And then 2 pi, let's replace, that will be 5 sine of 2 pi minus 3, that should be minus 3. Okay, so we can see these are the values that we have for our table. Let me just draw this here. So we have the y-axis. We have, as you can see, we have minus 8, which is kind of down. Let me just put my x a bit up so it can be kind of proportional to what I want to show. This is my x value and my y value. So let me mark this as this is 0. Let's say this is my first value here is pi by 2. Then we have pi, then we have 3 pi by 2. And then finally we have 2 pi. Again, this is only a sketch. It doesn't need to be exact. You can always try your best using a ruler as well to help you out, but it doesn't need to be exact. Now for the first value, 0 will be minus 3. Let's say minus 3 is somewhere over here. 0 minus 3, let's say it is here, minus 3. Why not? Then we have, this will be 2. So to say 2 is somewhere over here. Why not? And then we have pi will be minus 3. Minus 3, let's say somewhere over here. Then we have this will be minus 8. Let's say minus 8 will be definitely below, let's say somewhere over here. Right? And then we have this will be back again to minus 3. Let's say minus 3 will be somewhere over here. As you can see, we have the whole graph ready or available for us to connect. This will be the max point. This will be the minimum point. And this will be joining to this one. And this will join to this one. Okay, try your best to have a shape somewhat like this. Okay, so this will be your sketch for your graph. And at the end, always label your graph as y equal to f of x. Or if you want to, you can always write 5 sine of x minus 3. So what did we learn here? We learned that for the first part, we have to use the given values to find the unknown. That's the only way. Using the given values to find the unknown first. And then here we have to solve this equation. So we proceed step by step by solving the equation. First thing, we have to make sine become the subject. And then we see it is a positive value. If it is a positive value, it will be in my first quadrant and in my second quadrant, right? Then we solve, we find the values correct to 2 decimal place. Great. Now for part 3, we have to sketch the graph. Now to sketch a graph, there's of course many ways and to do that in this, but this is my easiest way that I think I would advise to everyone. Just use a table of values to find the value that we need, and then we can just sketch the graph. There's always steps to follow. First, we can look at the amplitude if you want to, or we have to look at this to find the interval that we need so that we have exact values to work with, and then proceed with connecting the dots, forming a smooth curve. At the end, label your graph as follows for your full marks. And this will be a question involving graphs and trigonometry. Now for this question, let's see what do we have. So the diagram shows a circular cross-section of a uniform cylindrical log with center O and radius 20 centimeters. As you can see here, it is a circle first. That's the first thing we know. And the center of the circle is O. Okay, good. And the radius is 20. So these are the given information that we have at first. Again, these are just big words to scare you, but the main idea is that this is a circle, center O and radius 20. Good. Now we have the points A, X, and B. So A, X, and B, they lie on the circumference of the circle, and AB is 32. So this length of A to B will be 32. Okay, good to know. Now, what are the things that we can kind of derive from this? So by observation, you can see that OA and OB, they are both radius, which means these two have to be same. Right, that's the first thing we can kind of derive. Now, something else we can also have a look at, it will be, if you think, this will be 20 obviously, but if you were to join O and X, if it is exactly in between, we realize that it will break this down exactly in half. However, let's proceed first with the question and see what can we prove. So the first step here is to do what? Part 1, we have to show the angle AOB. So we have AOB, so this angle here is given by 1.855 radians. So pretty easy. If you guys have a look, if you take out the triangle, we have triangle AB and then O here. Right. This is the angle that I'm trying to find. This is A and B. This is 20, this is 20, and this is 32. Now, we have seen this many times before. The way of thinking is, if you know all the three sides of a triangle and you're trying to find the angle in between of the two sides, we can use the cosine rule. So that will be a formula you guys have to know. That will be cosine of the angle. That will be 20 square plus 20 square, the sum of the square of both sides, and minus 32 square, the difference of the square of the opposite side of the angle, and then divide by 2 times 20 times 20. So this is a formula you guys have to know for the cosine rule. Again, definitely memorize this formula. That will help you to find the answers. Let's first simplify this. That will be 20 square plus 20 square minus 32 square divided by 2 times 20 times 20. That will be cos of this will give you minus 0.28. Now obviously here we have to find the angle in terms of radians, so let's have a look. That will become cos inverse for the answer. That will be, as we can see, that should be angle O was found to be 1.85459, which means, correct to 3 decimal place, that should be indeed 1.855. Okay, so that will be your answer for part 1, shown as required. That is the value of the angle. Now for part 2, we have to find the area of a sector AXBO. So first thing is, where is AXBO? As we can see, A is here, X, BO. So we have to find the area of this whole thing. Now usually, how do you find area of a sector? So we know we have to use the formula that we know. Area of a sector is equal to half r square theta. Theta is just the angle in between. So half is half, r square is the radius, that is 20 square, and times the angle in between, that will be, let's use the exact value here, that will be 1.85459. Let's see what did we get. So answer is this, so times half times r square. That will be 370.918. So correct to 3 SF, that will be 371 for the area of sector AXBO. That will be centimeters square for area. Okay, good. Now let's move on. Now, the section AXBC, so AXBCD, this section, okay, where ABCD is a rectangle with AD equal to 18. So AD is equal to 18 has been removed. So we remove that part. Okay, good to know. Now, part 3, we have to find the area of the new cross-section shown as the shaded region. So basically, we have to find the area of this region. So we understand that at first we had this whole circle. We took off the rectangle and the shape. We only have to find the area of the shaded region. So what is the first idea that comes to your mind? Is that, hey, we have to find this gray area only. But first thing is, we know that we have to first find the whole area. That's the first big idea that comes to my mind. First, let's find the whole thing, right? Area of a circle. So what is that? That will be pi r square, which is 20 square. That will be what? 20 square, that will be 400. Now again, this is, you have to know as your formula, as this will not be given to you. So you have to know area of a square, circle, area of a circle is given to you pi r square. This is the formula you have to know for area of a circle, right? Now part 1, we have to find the whole thing. Now we understand that right now we have everything. We want to remove this part. Like, what is this part? As we can see, there's 2 pieces we can find step by step. We can first find the area of the rectangle. So remove. So let me use a different color here. Step number 2, we have to remove the white part. So the white part is consisting of 2 parts. One part is the area of the rectangle. So let's do that. Rectangle is what? Pretty easy. How do you find area of rectangle? It is the length times the width. So the length is 32 times the width, it is 18. That will be 32 times 18. That will be 576. So the rectangle will be 576, as we can see. Okay, great. That's the first part. So now this is gone. But we also have to remove this part, right? So how can you find the area of the segment? Now, if you think, I know the area of the whole sector AXBO. We know this area. So let me draw something here. So now for part 3, we have to find the area of the segment AXB, which is only the top part here, because we know the rectangle already. We just want this one to be removed now. So by observation, you can see we know the area of this shape from part 2 of the question. So we know this one. This is A, B, O, this is X. So we know this whole thing is equal to what? It is equal to 370.918. So we know this whole thing. We want to remove the area of the triangle. So how do you find area of a triangle? So pretty easy. Again, this is another formula you guys have to know. It is half times sine of the angle in between, and then times the two sides around the angle. That will be 20 times 20. So pretty easy. Replace half sine of the angle, as we have seen, it is 1.85459. I'll be using the exact value, and then we have 20 times 20. That will be 20 squared. Let's see what does that give me. So half times sine of 85459 times 20 squared, that should be 192.0 as the value of the triangle. Now again, we only care about the top for now. Segment AXB. The top will be what? The whole thing, which is 370.918 minus the area of the triangle, 192. That will be 178.918. Okay, great to know. This is the area on top. Now, it is not done yet. As we have seen, the area that we need will be what? Will be the whole thing. As we can see, it is 400 pi. Let's write this down, the whole thing, minus the area of the rectangle, which is 576, and minus the area of the top part here, as we have just found to be 178.918. So let's find out. 400 pi minus 576 minus 178.918. That will be 501.719. Again, if you have non-exact values, we have to write this down correct to 3SF. That will be 502, and that will be centimeters square as your answer. That will be part 3 of this question. Again, the questions are not very hard by itself. We have to think logically, how can we proceed one by one, and just think, hey, how can I find this? Now again, this is not the only way of doing this question. You can always proceed step by step and find out the best way that suits you to find this kind of answers. Now I think this is one of the easiest way. That's why I've done it this way. But you can see here there's a few formulas you guys have to know to solve this. We have to know how to find the area of a circle, how to find the area of a rectangle, how to find the area of a sector, how to use the cosine rule, and finally how to find the area of a triangle using the formula right here. So there's a few things you guys have to know to solve this kind of question, and that will be a question involving circular measure. So here we have a hollow circular cylinder. So now first thing first is, what do you understand by this? So we have a hollow, it means it is open at one end. So let me draw something to help us with this question. So here we have a cylinder. On top it is open, and then at the bottom I think it is closed, because it tells you here it is open at one end. So I guess this here it is closed and open on top. So this is what is the shape. This is the shape of a cylinder. We have to know this for math questions. unfortunately. Now, it is constructed of thin sheet metal, okay? The total external surface area of the cylinder is 192 pi this. So the external surface area. Okay, good. So what can we think of right now is how would you find the surface area or the total external surface area of the cylinder? Let's observe. According to what we have right here, we can see that the TSA, which is the total surface area, is equal to what? It is the area of the curved surface, so curved surface area, and then plus the area of the circle area at the base. Because the top it is open, we don't have the top, we only have the base. So this will be equal to my total surface area of this cylinder. Okay, so let's first use that. So we know this is equal to 192 given to you by the question. So let's write this down. We have 192 pi is equal to the curved surface area. We have to know this formula. That will be 2 pi RH, and then plus the area of the circle at the base. So area of a circle is pi r square. So now we have just to replace and try to solve this step by step. So here we have 192 pi is equal to 2 pi r, the radius, I don't think we know anything right now. The radius we don't know, and h we don't know as well. Very interesting. So there's many things we don't know in this question. So let's see what is the first thing we can do. Let me just continue for now. Let's see what can we do about this. So first thing we can do is let's cancel out pi, because we have pi here, and pi here. We can just cancel out pi on everyone. So right now you will have 192 2 RH plus r squared. Now, because here I only have an h, we can try to make this become the subject. So you have 2RH is equal to 192 minus r squared. Now h will be 192 minus r squared divided by 2r. For now I have this. Now again, you might ask me, hey, how do you know you have to do this? The answer is I don't know. I am just trying to make an equation from what I can see. That's the main thing. Because here to make r become the subject, it will be kind of hard. So let me just make h become the subject. So the thing is that I don't really know exactly what to do. That's not, I know the question sometimes is, hey, how do you know you can do this? I don't know. I just proceed logically to see which one is the easiest way to do something. So for now I have this. Now again, I can always change that afterwards, but for now I have this as my equation number 1 derived from the given information. That is part 1. Now part 1 of the question itself, we have to express h in terms of r and show that the volume V is given by this. So you can see we have actually to use this h in terms of r, that is the first part here, and we have to show the volume is equal to this. Now, how do you find the volume of a cylinder? It is equal to pi r square h. So this is something we have to know for the volume of a cylinder. That will become pi is pi, r square is r square, and h we have seen here, it is equal to 192 minus r square over the value of 2r. Simplify, let's see what do we have. So this and this will cancel out, so you will have pi r 192 times r square divided by the value of 2. So let me rewrite this down so we can have exactly shown as required. So let me send the r inside. You will have half is here, pi is here. Now we send the r inside. You will have 192 r minus r cubed. That will be the value for V. That will be part 1 of the question, shown as required. Now again, I think this was just sheer luck that we had to do this, but as you can see, we always use the given information and proceed step by step and see what is the easiest way we can do or express something in something else. Now it just happened that here we have to do h in terms of r, and then we have to solve this to find this, shown as required. Now for part 2, we are given that r can vary. So r is the radius can change in this equation. Now part 2, we have to find the value of r in which v has a stationary value. Now we know what? We always have to know at the stationary value, what do we have? Value, we have to have what? dv. So v has a stationary value, so dv by dr has to be 0. So we have to know this, because as you can see here, the equation of v, it is in terms of r, and r vary, so we have to have dv over dr is equal to 0. This is what happens at the stationary value. Okay, so let's write this down. For part 2, we have this equation that we have to use, which is this. So part 2, we have v is equal to half pi 192 minus r cubed as required. This is r here. Don't forget this one, very important. Now, we have to find dv by dr. Pretty easy, differentiation. Now this one is only a multiple, we can just put this ahead and forget about this. Now on the inside, what is dv by dr of 192r? That will be 192. And then here we have to first send the power over here, that will be 3. And then r, 3 minus 1 is 2. So this will be dv by dr. Now we understand that at the stationary value, dv by dr is equal to 0, so we have to equate that to 0. So let's proceed. Now we can just send this over here, so cross multiply, for example. So 2 goes to 0, that will be 0. So we have pi 192 minus 3r squared is equal to, so because we have sent the 2 up here, because if you think it is pi times 192 minus this over 2, right, is equal to 0. Now if you cross multiply, 2 times 0 will be 0. So that's why we have 0 here. Now, because we have this, we can divide by pi on both sides. So this will cancel out. You will have this 3r squared is equal to 0. Now what else can we have? We can have, make this become subject, that will become 3r squared is equal to 192, and r squared will be what? 192 divided by 3, that will be 64. So finally, r is the radius, that will be root of 64, that should be 8 as your answer. So here the value of r was required, so we have r is equal to 8, and that will be centimeters for the unit. As you can see, we were able to proceed step by step. We used the previous answer here to find dv by dr and equate that to 0, because we know that we have to know this at the stationary value. This will be always the truth. Okay, and then using that, we have to solve one by one to find the value of r. Now for part 3, we have to find the stationary value and determine the nature. So pretty easy. So let me continue here. So the value itself is what? The value, the maximum or the minimum value of v, or the stationary value. We just have to replace the value of r we found in the main equation. So here we have half pi, that'll be 192, r is 8 minus 60, that will be, 8 power 3. Here we don't have 3. My apologies. I have used the wrong equation. We have to use this one. 192 times 8 minus r cubed. 8 power 3. That'll be half. That will be what? 192 times 8 minus 8 power 3. That will be 1024. Then divide by 2. That will be 512 pi as your answer for the volume of this cylinder at its stationary value. Now of course we have to simplify this. Times pi, that will be 1608.459. Now if the value is not exact, we have to try to write this down correct to 3SF. That will be 1610, and then that's it. That will be This will be your answer for part 1 here of the question. Now we have to also find the nature of this value. So pretty easy. To find the nature, we have to use d2v by dl2. So we have to find the second derivative of this one. So we know that dv by dr is this. We have to differentiate that one more time. Let's see what do we get. So half pi is only a multiple, that will be outside. And on the inside, this will become 0. It is a constant, and then that will become 6r as your value. Now that will become cancel out, that will be 3. That will become minus 3r pi. Or minus 3 pi r will be the value of this. Now because r is 8, replace here, you will have minus, so 3 times 8 will be minus 24 pi. So here we have this. We realize this is a negative value. So since, you would say since d2v, or the second derivative, is a negative value, we know that the stationary value of v, which was found to be this, value of v is a maximum value. So that's the main idea here. So once you find out this is negative, it means it is a maximum value. If it was positive, it will be a minimum value. So we have to know this for this kind of finding the nature problem. So this will be a question involving the rate of change and how can we use the concepts that we have learned to find the following values. As you can see, it is not very hard. We just have to be careful with the steps and step by step moving on to find the required values for this question. So a curve is such that dy by dx is given by this. So we have the rate of change of, that's not the rate, sorry, it is the difference of y with respect to x. So dy by dx is equal to this one. Now we realize that we can also rewrite this as follows. It can be written as 12 2x plus 1 power minus 2. Okay, so this is another way of writing the same equation. Now we know that p, the point P, which is 1, 5, which is the x value here, and the y value, is a point on the curve. Okay, great. Now for part 1, the normal to the curve at P crosses the x-axis at Q. We have to find the value of Q. Now again, we have to understand, hey, what's happening here? What are we trying to find, right? So let's think. Let's say we have a curve. The curve have a shape something like this. We don't know the shape exactly. Let's say the shape is something like this. It is a curve, right? That's the first thing. Now let's say the point P is over here, for example. This is my point P. P was found to be the point 1, 5. Great. Now what's next? The normal to the curve at point P. So the normal is a line that passes at 90 degrees to that point. So this is the normal, for example. Okay, great. It crosses the x-axis, and now I will have to have my axis here. For example, this is my x-axis, for example, x, at the point at Q. So this will be the value of Q here. Okay, so as you can see, we have to find this value of Q. Now, very easy, we have to proceed step by step. So we understand something we have to know is that to find this value of Q, it will be the point of intersection between my normal and then the x-axis. Now, first thing, we have to find the equation of the normal. Now, the normal is a straight line, so obviously you will have to first find the gradient of the normal. Now, to find the gradient of normal, we have to first find the gradient of the tangent. So here we have to kind of know a few things, because we cannot find them directly because we have no information about the normal at first. We must first proceed through this route. Now, we understand that the gradient of tangent is simply dy by dx at the point P. And here we have dy by dx already. So dy by dx is equal to this one. And at the point P will be the value of P is when x is equal to the value of 1. As we can see here, x is 1. We place that back in the equation. So dy by dx when x is equal to the value of 1 will be what? 12 over the value of 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3 square. That will be 12 divided by 9. That will be the value of, so that will be 12 over 9 divided by 3. That should be 4 over 3. Right. So 4 over 3, I think, yes, exactly. Now, this is the gradient of the tangent. Now, we have to know one of the properties between the gradient of tangent and the gradient of the normal. Because we know that the tangent and normal, they are at 90 degrees to each other. We can derive this. We know that if you take the gradient of tangent, multiply by the gradient of normal, you're supposed to get minus 1. So using this equation, we can find the gradient of normal. So let's do that. That will be 4 over 3 multiplied by gradient of normal. That will be minus 1. So gradient of normal, that will be minus 3 over the value of 4. Okay, great. So we have this. This is what we need to find the equation of the normal. Now, we have the gradient and we have a passing point, which is the point P. P is 1, 5. We can find the equation. This is my x value and my y value. So to find the equation, pretty easy. So y minus its corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value is equal to minus 3 over 4, which is its gradient. Now, this is definitely just the way to find the equation of the line. This is the method that I prefer to use, so it's up to you if you want to use this method to find the equation of a straight line. Now we can just cross multiply. You will have what? 4y minus 20. That will be minus 3x plus 3. So you have 4y is equal to minus 3x plus 3 plus 20. So 4y will be what? Minus 3x plus 23. This is my equation of the normal. Now we understand that we have to find the point Q, which is on the x-axis. Now we know that on the x-axis, what is true? Y will be 0. Replace that back in the main equation. So 4 times 0, that will be minus 3x plus 23. So 3x is equal to 23. X will be 23 over the value of 3. So the point Q will finally be what? The x value is 23 over 3, and y will be the value of 0. This will be the point Q as required. That is part 2 of the question. Now for part 1 of the question. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. So here we have to find the equation of the curve. Now it means that we have to find the value of y. Now we have to know something is that we are given dy by dx, so we have to integrate dy by dx to find the value of y. So that's the main thing we have to know here. You can just memorize this if you want to. To find y from dy by dx, we have to apply integration to find this. So let's do that. So dy by dx was given by this equation, 12 2x plus 1 power minus 2. So y will be integration of dy by dx, which is as follows with respect to x, and that will be what? 12 is 12. 12 is only a multiple. Then we have to apply integration on the rest. So first thing first, we have to increase the power by 1. That will be 2x plus 1. Sorry, 2x plus 1, the power is minus 2. Have to plus 1, that will become minus 1. So then divide by the power, which is minus 1. Then we have to divide by d by dx of the value inside. That will become 2 as here. And of course, you have to plus c for the constant of integration. I hope that makes sense. Because first thing first, we have to first kind of just remove the multiple, because it's just a constant. We don't really care about this one. Remove this outside. And then first, when we have a power that we want to integrate, we must first add 1 to the power. So minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Then we have to divide by the same power, so divide by minus 1. Okay? Then the final step is to divide by d by dx of the value inside. That will be 2, which is 2 here. Now simplify. That will be 6, and you will have minus 6 over the value of 2x plus 1 plus c will be my value of y. Now again, it is not complete yet because we have to find the value of c. Now, to find the value of c, we have to use the given values. We know the p is a passing point. It is 1, 5. My x value and my y value. Replace back in the main equation. That will be 5 is minus 6 over 2 times 1 plus 1 plus c. That will be what? So 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. Minus 6 divided by 3. That will be minus 2. So 5 minus 2 plus c. C will be 7. So finally, y is given by 7 minus 6 over 2x plus 1 as your answer for the equation of the curve. Okay, that is part 2. Now, one of the main common mistakes that we have from this is sometimes you forget to find your value of c, which is also required here for your full marks. That is one of the most common mistakes that we have for this kind of question. Now, for the last one, we have a point which is moving along the curve in such a way that x is increasing at a constant rate of this. So pretty easy. Rate is with respect to time. Whenever you see rate, it means with time. So x is dx with respect to time dt is equal to 0.3. That is the given value. We have to find the rate of increase of y. So we have to find dy by dt because the rate of increase of y when x equal to 1. So pretty easy. Let me write this down. Let me form the equation that we need for this question. So, to find dy by dt, we have to form or use the chain rule to form a formula that we can use. On top here we have dy, let's write dy. On the bottom here we have dt, let's write dt. Now how can we connect those two? As you can see here clearly, y is equal something in terms of x, so we have to write dx and dx here. Now this one we know already. It is given to you by the question. It is 0.3 dx by dt. Now we have to find the value of dy by dx when the value of x is equal to the value of 1. Now dy by dx is equal to, when equal to 1, it gives you the value of 4 over 3. So we can see this is clearly 4 over 3 when x equal to 1. So just replace back in your main equation to find your value. That will be what? This will be 4 over 3 multiplied by 0.3. So let's see what you have. So cancel out 0.1. That will be 0.4 as your answer. dy by dt. That will be units per second. And that will be your answer for part 3 of the question. So I think the main part of this question is to know how to form this equation by the chain rule. Again, very easy. On top we have dy, we put dy. On the bottom we have dx, we put dx over here. Now how are they connected? As we can see as well, we're given dx by dt, so we have to use it somewhere. So let's put dx on top, dt here. And then here obviously will have to be dx because y is in terms of x, as we have seen here. Y is in terms of x. So we just have to form this equation, then replace the value given to you, or we have to find this missing value as well. And then we solve to find this answer as follows. And this is the question involving the rate of change as well as finding the equation of the curve, for which we have to know this equation. Now here we have a question involving functions. Okay, let's see what can we do about this one. So here we have f of x is given to you by 3x plus 2. So the first thing you can realize is that this is a straight line, right? 3x plus 2. Now x can be any real values. Okay, now we have g of x equal to this one, where x cannot be minus 1.5. Makes sense because we cannot divide by 0. If you take the value of 2 times minus 1.5 plus 3, that will be 0. So 6 cannot divide by 0, if that makes sense. Now part 1 of the question, we have to find the value of x, for which f g of x is equal to 3. So step by step, let me actually do this over here. So first we have to find out what is f g of x. So pretty easy, that will be f. Put g of x inside of f. That will give you 3 times g of x plus 2. That will be what? 3 times g of x is 6 over 2x plus 3 and then plus 2. That is the value that we have for f g of x. Now we have to equate that to the value of 3. Okay, so step by step, let's send this over here. That will be 3 times 6 will be 18 over the value of 2x plus 3, and that will be giving you the value of 3 minus 2 is 1. We just have to cross multiply. You will have what? You will have equation 2x plus 3 is equal to 18, which is 2x is equal to 15, and next will be 7.5 as your answer. Let's check. 15 divided by 2 will be 7.5. So part 1, the value of x is 7.5. As you can see, we solved it step by step. Now for part 2, we have to sketch in a single diagram the graph of this and the graph of this, making a clear relationship between the two graphs. So for those who have done this kind of question many times, we can see clearly that will be what? That will be a very simple reflection along the y equal to x line. So this always happens. So let me write this down. The relationship between a graph and its inverse is what? It is always going to be that case. It is always a reflection in the line y equal to x. So if you guys can just memorize that anytime, just to use this as a backup knowledge, that will always be the case. So one by one. So we have the graph of y equal to f of x. So f of x is equal to 3x plus 2. Right. Now you can see this is a simple straight line. So how can we draw this? Let me find 2 points that we can join. So let's say x, if x equal to, for example, 0, y will be equal to the value of 2. If x equal to the value of, let's say, 3, y will be what? So 3 times 3, so it will be too much. Let me just find a simple value. Let's say 1. Y x equal to 1. 3 times 1 is 1 plus 2 is 5. So simple values. So we have the points 0, 2 and 1, 5 to use. Okay. So this is my axis. For example, again, it is only a sketch. It doesn't need to be exact. It just needs to be an idea of how it should look like. This is the x-axis and the y-axis. This is my x and this is my y. So 0, 2 should be somewhere over here, for example. And then 1, 5, so 1, 5, let's say somewhere over here. Okay, so now we just have to connect those two to form that line. It should be something like this. Once you draw this, you can always label this as y equal to f of x. Now we understand that there must be a reflection in the line equal to y equal to x. This is the relationship that we have to always show when we sketch a graph and its inverse. So let's try our best to draw this one. Or you can always just mark this. For example, I can mark this as 1 here and 1 here. So I know that it will be exactly as required. So it should be somewhere over here. So let's join this with the center to form that line that we need to show for our marks. This will be the line y equal to x. So we have to show this line as well for one of the marks. Now finally we have to show the inverse. So the inverse will be what? So we just have to kind of reflect that along this. So this will be kind of over here, right? Then this will be something here, right? And then let's see what else. This will be somewhere over here as a reflection. So we just have to join these two. Now let me use a different color because it will be confusing. I'll use this one. And this will be my graph of y equal to f inverse of x. As you can see, there's a few things here we have to show. We have to show this line, but also this line to get your 3 marks. Okay, that will be part 2 of the question. Now part 3, we have to express each of this and this in terms of x and solve this equation. So let's see how can we do this. Pretty easy. Part 3. So we have f of x is equal to 3x plus 2. Now to find the inverse, let's say let f of x equal to y, which is y equal to 3x plus 2. Now we have to make x become the subject of formula. You have to have 3x, that will be y minus 2. Now x will be y minus 2 divided by 3, so the x become the subject. Now finally, f inverse of x will be in terms of x. We have to write x minus 2 over 3 for this one. And next one is we have to find g inverse. So we know that g of x was given to you by 6 over 2x plus 3. We have to let y equal to g of x, which is this, over 2x plus 3. We cross multiply, you will have 2xy plus 3y equal to 6. We have to make x become the subject, so you have 2xy equal to 6 minus 3y. So x will become 6 minus 3y divided by 2y. So finally, f inverse, it is in terms of x, that will be 6 minus 3x over 2x. This is g of x, g inverse of x. So now we have those two as required here, express those two in terms of x, done. Now we have to solve this equation. So let's equate that. So on one side we have this, which is x minus 2 is equal to 6 minus 3x over 2x. So we can cross multiply first. You will have 2x squared minus 4x is equal to 18 minus 9x. Now we can send everything to one side. You will have 2x squared minus 4x plus 9x equal to, minus 18 equal to 0. So simplify, let's see what do we have. You have 2x squared and then plus 5x minus 18 equals to 0. Now again, whenever you have a quadratic equation, you can just use the formula to solve this. If you guys don't know how to solve this by factorization, or if you know, you can just factorize. So we have two brackets because we have x squared. 2x squared is just 2x times x. 18 could be what? Let's think. 18 could be 1 times 18, 2 times 9, or 3 times 6. So we have to choose one pair of them to get plus 5 as the resulting value. So which one can we choose? We have to do this by trial. The first one is definitely not the correct one. Can we choose this one? I think yes. Let's try. We have to put 2 here and 9 here. If you want to get plus 5, we have to put plus 9 here, and then minus 4, that will give me plus 5. So 2x times minus 2, that will be minus 4, and plus 9 times 4 times x will be plus 9. So plus 9 minus 4 will be plus 5 as required. So it is always going to multiply in this way. Remember, this will multiply with this, and this will multiply with this. Okay, so 2x times minus 2 is minus 4, plus 9 will be plus 5 as required. Then we check for this one. Plus times minus is minus. Here we have minus, so good. Good factorization. X will be the value of minus 9 over 2. X will be the value of 5.
Well, here obviously the value is not 5, it's 2.
Okay, and this will be solving this equation to find those values for 5 marks. Okay, that will be a question regarding the function chapter for paper 1 A-level.